gentlemen, dames en heren, goedenavond, good evening. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I shouldn't be here talking to you, but I will start with a little bit of publicity for an exhibition opening tomorrow evening at SMAC, organized, curated by the wonderful Godard backers, organizing all those KASK lecture and being so generous to give us, and here I'm talking as the representative of KIOSK, the exhibition space here on the campus, to welcome Pablo Helguera. I should give you some information about his life. He's born in 1971, he's Mexican. He left when he was 20 for Chicago, where he studied in the Art Institute. He started also making money by writing articles, weekly articles for a Spanish newspaper about the art scene. He worked also as an art educator in various museums, moving later on to New York, working for the Guggenheim Museum, for the Metropolitan, the MoMA, the Museum of of Modern and Contemporary Art. It's difficult, and I think it's just impossible to resume one artist's life, certainly not Pablo Helguera's artist life. If you just navigate on his website, it's like a wonderful spider web. There are so many projects all related together. You could say that Pablo Helguera is a writer, first of all. He's also a drawer, a painter, a collagist. He's organizing social projects. I would like to say in two words, he's a beautiful eccentric. And beautiful eccentric is also the name that he gave to his blog. He started on the 1st of January 2021, in which he's paying homage to people he likes, he admires, he wants to give more attention to. But it's also a disguised autobiography. So basically he's talking about himself. But I contacted him a few years ago, 2 years ago, during the pandemic or just before, asking him to make a drawing because Pablo Helguera got international recognition for his cartoons. They are small drawings, like cartoons about the art world, and they got published in famous art newspapers. And I just asked him, would you please make a drawing for a one-page advertisement for a young Antwerp-based magazine. And he immediately, because I think he's one of the most generous artists I've been working with, he immediately said yes. And in my second email, I said, I confess that what I really wanted to do was to ask you for a solo exhibition. And he answered positively and asked me to select 10 of the texts that he had already published on his blog, Beautiful Eccentric, and came once from New York to discuss how we would translate those texts three-dimensionally in the space of KIOSK. This exhibition, you can visit it tonight until 10. But let's applaud and welcome the one and only Pablo Helguera.
Polyester spiderwebs on windows, Pennywise masks, plastic skeletons sitting on porches, styrofoam graves leaning against pumpkins. Halloween is approaching. In my Brooklyn neighborhood, where there are many families with children, everyone gets energized and into the competitive spirit, even if there are no prizes involved, of elaborately decorating their homes and dressing up for the trick-or-treat day. I have always been fascinated by the subversion of roles that Bakhtin used to define as the carnivalesque, as it is embraced by a broad community. Upper middle class parents who regularly dress in business attire to work in New York's Midtown jump at the opportunity to smear their face with makeup and fake blood and be weird for a day. As a performance artist myself, I feel no special urge to do that. It is, like my uncle would say, asking for a mailman for a walk on a Sunday. Nor do I imagine any other artist would. I'm also keenly aware of the fact that in contemporary art, when it subverts really à la Bakhtin, like in the works of Paul McCarthy, it's truly seen as weird and can cause revulsion, which in turn is the reason why artists tend to disdain the aesthetic fragility and general intolerance of the abnormal by the untrained eye. John Cage used to say, "People are afraid of new ideas. I'm actually afraid of the old ones." So in that non-Halloween world, being weird is bad. And even within the Halloween celebration, the brand of weirdness of most outfits is still fairly predictable and milquetoast, like witches, grim reapers, mummies, and so forth. Yet I merely put on a costume because it allows me to fit in and join the celebration, which is very important to me. I do want to be in community, and I do not want to stand out by not wearing a costume. Although occasionally, we still like to make a statement, if possible. In 2020, the horrid election year we experienced in the United States, I dressed up as Marx. Nothing scarier to American conservatives than socialism. And my partner Danielle dressed as a suffragette, which is another conservative threat, women who fight for their rights. But within this simple dynamic of Halloween, there's an issue around normality and difference that I think is very interesting to explore. So for that, I want to bring up a short story by Oscar Wilde, who seems fitting to me to bring up since Wilde hailed from Ireland, the country where the Halloween tradition originates. In The Canterville Ghost, which was written in 1987, Wilde tells the story of a spirit of an English nobleman who had killed his wife and was then walled alive by his wife's brothers. An American family, a married couple with 2 twins and a teenage daughter, recently moves to Ireland and purchases the country house where the ghost resides. The family is unconcerned by the seller's warnings about the ghost. Right away, the ghost tries to haunt the Americans with things like spilling pools of blood in the living room, but is surprised by the fact that the family is not fazed by his antics, and they can readily deal with whatever mischief the ghost creates. They use, for example, a very effective cleaning product to clean the stains, and even offer the ghost a special all-purpose lubricating oil to help ease the screeching noise caused by the ghost's chains. In a way, the story being able of how modernity and technology helps defeat superstition. The twins then take to torture and haunt the poor ghost as a pastime, laying all sorts of traps and tricks onto him, all of which deeply humiliates him. Only the daughter, Virginia, decides to talk to the ghost and listen to his tragic story. He has not been able to sleep for 300 years. He cannot cry because he has no tears. He cannot pray because he has no faith. So in an act of wonderful kindness and empathy, Virginia then cries and prays for the ghost, ultimately convincing the angel of death to finally take him away. I was simultaneously scared and moved by the story of the Canterville Ghost as a child, as well as by those illustrations in the book that I read. I never quite knew why the story had such impact on me. Now, in retrospect, I believe the tale is a metaphor about artists. But it is not a metaphor about artists in the predictable way that one would expect it to be. In other words, if I tell you that this story is about an artist, you might interpret it to mean that the Canterville Ghost is a misunderstood artist, someone whose work is ineffective or unappreciated, like a bad artist. Instead, I would argue, and I know this is counterintuitive, he's an artist because he actually wants to be normal. He wants to be a normal mortal. He wants, like any ordinary soul, to rest in peace. So in order to explain, I will have to backtrack a bit. In 1980, psychologists Charles Snyder and Howard Fromkin developed the uniqueness theory, which posits that as social animals, we try to balance the desire to be part of a community with the equal desire to distinguish ourselves from others. We want to be different. According to that uniqueness theory, humans feel discomfort whenever they feel too different or too similar to others. The theory predicts that the perception of extreme similarity of self and to others leads an individual to seek a behavioral strategy that gives him or her a greater sense of uniqueness. This explains a great deal about the social scripts of the art world, which is something I wrote about in a book titled Art Scenes. The book sought to outline how nonconformism amongst artists is only the fulfillment of a preordained social score, according to which artists should be disruptors and nonconformists. In other words, we make art to provoke and change paradigms, but in the end, we want to be accepted. In the end, as the theory predicts, artistic radicality tends to be calculated so in order not to entirely alienate the art world. The exception to the rule, I would also argue, are eccentrics. There are certain traits in the eccentric self, personal obsessions, compulsions, addictions, that get in the way of focusing too much on others. And thus, eccentrics are not too much influenced by the concerns of other opinions. In their 1995 book, Eccentrics, A Study of Sanity and Strangeness, the psychotherapists David Weeks and Jamie James argue that people who display eccentric behavior are actually very happy people. They're happy about their own life, they're happy and rather unconcerned by the external possible validation of their interests. So there are two key factors here. The first is that eccentricity might not be a trait that can artificially be induced or permanently and veritably sustained. It would be like pretending madness for your whole life. Sooner or later, or pretend craziness might be discovered and be revealed as a sham. And conversely, if we do have an eccentric side, it seldom can be hidden or repressed, especially for those who we know well. In other words, following Snyder and Fromkin's theory, the rebelliousness that stems from the desire to be unique is different from having an obsession. Say, making very intricate drawings, or collecting moths, or building contraptions in somebody's garage. Eccentrics don't want to be different. They are largely unconcerned about what the rest of the world thinks about normality and about them. And they are completely satisfied and fulfilled in the free pursuit of their own obsessions. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, to a greater or lesser degree, we all, artists or not, contain an eccentric side, which we can explore on occasions such as Halloween. But this eccentric side is particularly salient among artists. I learned this the hard way over the course of my life as an art administrator, a job that required, like most office work, strict regulation, pragmatic organization and control, For the longest time, my greatest fear was that I would become a Sunday painter. Like many people I knew who are expert administrators but had given up their dreams to be an artist, I feared that. In a large museum, I was the only senior administrator who was also an active practicing artist. As a result, I had that eccentric/normal split identity that I needed to ensure could remain in balance. As people who worked with me knew, I could never speak about my own artwork in the office and made actually the subject taboo. I was afraid that one side would contaminate the other. As it turns out, that was impossible in either direction. One day in 2019, at the end of my museum career, I was invited to apply for the Director of Education position at a major art museum. I agreed to go through the process. But as I was interviewing, I realized that there was a problem. My artistic practice was too visible and could not be successfully hidden or set aside. The museum director, the COO, and all these other people who interviewed me kept bringing it up all the time, inquiring politely, but revealing there was a real concern whether my practice would interfere with my museum work. As much as I tried to do my usual church and state division spiel, I realized it was not convincing. I was not normal. I was the Canterville artist. I didn't get the job. As it turns out, as in many things in my life, not being hired was an enormous stroke of luck. If hired, I would have had to begun the job in February of 2020, a month before the pandemic started. This museum, like many others, was also the target of terrible accusations of racism and inequity in its programming a few months later, another thing that I would have inherited had I been hired. Later that year, I left the museum world for good. I realized that all along my fear was that working in a museum I always felt that I would be stop being an artist by working in a museum, while in reality the issue was the opposite. I could never forever remain in a museum because I was an artist. I would never be, so to speak, normal. Eccentrics don't care about normalcy, as I said. Mainly, it does not tend to enter their mind. But they don't do what they do with intention to be different. Their eccentric ways constitute the natural state of being. Thus, my counterintuitive corollary for tonight: pretend artists want to be different. Actual artists, insofar that they are concerned with the question, ultimately want to be normal. Perhaps my deep identification with the Canterville ghost was that I never felt normal in my life, as much as I wanted to. Growing up, being normal, is something that we all want and need at some point, well, especially when we are in school, where we want to fit in. But as David Bowie once said, being an artist is a sign of a certain kind of dysfunction. One that, when you have it, you simply have to embrace it. But it doesn't work as a compelling Halloween costume. So for this Halloween, I will not dress like that. I will dress like a British Royal Guard. And my partner will dress like Lady Diana. In truth, I always wanted to wear one of those furry helmets. But I just leave you to explore the fact that there is a hidden, beautiful eccentric within each one of you. If you listen to it as Virginia listened to the Canterville ghost, you will liberate it, and it will liberate you. However, if instead you can dominate it and keep it hidden, I will envy you as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very delighted to be able to do this project here in Ghent. And it has been a pleasure to work with the KASK team and with Simon and his team to develop this project, which I hope you'll be able to enjoy after this presentation. But before, we need to do a few things. First, I will explain a little bit what this column is about. And Simon already mentioned it before, but I'll just mention a few things. And then I will give you a little intro through a series of small rituals about the pieces inside that show. I started Beautiful Eccentrics as what you would perhaps describe a blog, something that was very dismissive in the early 2000s. I did it because I missed the conversation and dialogue about art that I used to have when I was in the museum world. But I also did it because I felt that the kind of writing about art that typically happens in the art press is very limited to three types of writing. Either very academic writing, very theoretical writing that only is directed to a very small group of people, or gossip style writing that is only interested to me, very superficial types of people that doesn't really talk about art, or art reviews, which serve a purpose to the art market, but also feel very limiting in format and content. I wanted to write about many things that I felt are really important to the art practice, and things that we think about, but often we don't discuss. So Beautiful Eccentrics tries to find those corners, those issues that I feel concern us all, about aesthetics, about art in general, not just only the visual art sometimes, and about our society, about the way that we interact and we discuss art. So that's what Beautiful Eccentrics tries to do. Now, to the selection of the different columns that we presented for this exhibition, Simon made the selection, as he said, of 10 subjects, and I will just try to exemplify a few of them. But for that, I need the participation of 2 volunteers. Can 2 volunteers come down stage, please? I'm not gonna bite, you'll be fine. Great. Let's give an applause to Maria and
Felipe.
Felipe and Maria, welcome. Bienvenidos. So, we're going to do 2 tests, actually 3 tests, if you allow me. Okay? The first test is I would like you to describe your own shoes. Can you describe what shoes are you wearing today? Let me see if you can.
Some kind of canvas boots.
Canvas boots?
Yes.
Where'd you get them?
Here in Ghent, actually. In Ghent.
Oh, great.
Yes.
They're local shoes.
Local. Well, not local. Kind of, yes.
Are they good shoes?
Yeah.
Are they good for winter?
They're good for like fall, for this weather, yeah.
Okay, not for the summer.
No, not for summer. They're
So
like
do you have shoes for winter, for summer, and fall?
And for fall. This is like more like fall. Very specific.
Okay. And you?
Leather black boots.
Okay. And where'd you get them?
I think in Spain.
In
Yeah.
Spain?
Yeah.
Do they produce good shoes?
Yes. I think so, yeah.
Are they all?
It's
Are
a
they all?
Spanish brand.
Are they all season?
No, they are winter.
Okay.
Winter shoes.
So what I'm going to ask you is to exchange shoes. You can wear each other's shoes.
Okay, I think mine are gonna be smaller.
Okay, no problem.
You can only do one shoe if you like.
Okay.
Maybe the right shoe or.
I hope my sock is okay.
The purpose of this exercise is to really feel what it feels like to be in someone else's
I'm
shoes.
super sorry. It's
Sí,
gonna
no,
be
no.
quite small, eh?
Pequeña? No, me cabe.
Sí, son 38.
If it's too small, then that's part of the experience.
It's like wearing a heel.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be in those shoes?
For me, they are quite comfy, so I don't mind to keep
So it's not comfortable. It's comfortable for you, not comfortable for you.
No, not very much.
Okay.
I mean,
So one of the installations you'll see, it has to do with a famous museum here in Belgium that collects artist shoes. Many years ago, maybe around 10 years ago, it was invited to be part of that collection. They invited me to donate my shoes. What they do is they collect artist shoes and they exhibit them. They invited me to basically give them for free my shoes. And I first thought it was really funny and nice, and I started looking for my shoes, and then I thought, wait a minute, I'm an artist, it's a museum, they should pay me for my shoes. And then I told them, you know, I think you're asking me to donate an artwork, even if it's a conceptual artwork, and I think you should offer me something. And they were like, no, these are donations, we have no money, we're just like very happy to have shoes. And I said, well, but the fact is that if you think that my shoes have any value, and you want the public to believe that they have value, they have likely commercial value. They have Gerhard Richter shoes. I mean, theoretically, you can sell them for some money, right? But we got into a fight, and then I wrote an article about artist relics, which is what the installation that you'll see at this exhibition is about, okay? That's one of the topics. Now, you can exchange shoes back.
Okay.
I'm not gonna have you wear the shoes all day. The second test involves cereal, and I think all of you have cereals. We are gonna test these cereals. One of the columns that we also turned into an installation involves products that are surrogates of actual products. Basically, brands that are the generic brands. The difference between generic brand and the actual brand of a product. And this also applies into art. You'll see in the exhibition, we have a lot of generic Fernando Boteros. These are paintings that we bought on eBay, painted generally in Italy very cheaply, but they're also very beautiful Boteros. But of course, they're not real Boteros. So genericism is a really interesting subject in art. But for now, for the sake of exercise, I'm going to ask you to grab a chair. And we're going to try. How do you open this? Oh, here. Okay.
We have to try this.
So I'm going to ask you to try both cereals. So this is bowl. Hold on. This is bowl 1, and this is bowl 2. Bowl 1 and bowl 2. Okay. I hope that you like cereal, and I hope that you are not allergic to chocolate. What I want you to do, and I think I welcome you all who has a bowl here, and if anybody wants any milk, we have some milk available, to test bowl 1 and bowl 2, and tell me which bowl has the original cereal and which bowl has the generic brand. Savor the cereal, the chocolate, the texture of each one of these flakes. Okay, taste the other one. Okay, so which bowl 1 or 2 is the authentic, the original cereal in your hand, in your view?
I think this one.
For me, it's the first one.
1 and you?
For me, it's number 2.
Okay, so you completely disagree.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, bowl number 1 is Kellogg's Choco Pops. Okay, and bowl 2 is Bonnie Choco Clams. So Bonnie, as I think to some of you, is a local Belgian brand. That is a generic brand, and Kellogg's is the original brand. But the point about generics, which is really tricky, is that many times, and this is a point that I make in the column, is that generics sometimes are produced by the original producer of cereals. So it's exactly the same product, only that it doesn't have the brand. So the factory makes those cereals and sells them to other brands, to like maybe a supermarket chain, so they can sell them cheaper, but it doesn't have the actual brand. So you might be tasting exactly the same cereal.
But this is made here?
So two is bony choco clams.
Because I felt the chocolate flavor much. I felt the chocolate stronger here.
So you think the generic is better than the original?
Yeah.
Well, that's totally possible, right?
No, I think I recognize this one from my childhood, and it was Kellogg's.
So you have like a lifelong relationship with Kellogg's.
Yeah.
That's very special. Well, thank you. Anyway, thank you. Well, there's one last test we need to do. Okay. And in this test, this pertains to one of the last pieces in the show, which is a project that involves generosity and the art market. In 2008, during the Great Global Recession, I opened a project titled the Free Art Gallery. The Free Art Gallery was a display of artworks. In this case, these are collages that I have produced that are offered for free to the public. But the only condition is that people have to make a very good argument and case for why they should own that piece. So if you go to the gallery, you can write down a particular artwork that you like and just explain why would you like to own it. And then the best argument, the best case, the best proposal wins the artwork. So this work is here on the gallery, on the stage today. And you both are going to be the judges of whoever wants to ask for the piece. So if anybody's interested in this artwork for free, I need you to tell us why you would like to have it, and then you guys decide who gets it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Good.
So, any interest takers? If nobody wants it, then I'll keep it. Okay, tell us.
Yes, at our place, a lot of people pass by with coffee. So if we hang it in our living room, a lot of people can see it, and it can make a lot of people happy.
It's a very important reason to have an artwork. Absolutely.
Oh, maybe I'm sorry. So I live in a street called Sportstraat, number 20. Oh no, I live in the city number. But it's on the 3rd floor, and I think this work, would enjoy the view because the view is really, really beautiful. The sunset going under is the most beautiful view the work can ever see. So I think it deserves.
That's
We have
amazing.
another one there.
I live in a really tiny dark room, so the work would be like something for me to be happy about it and to lighten up my
I'm interested in it because of maybe also the title and the figure that is kind of lost, because I have this, for myself, I just constantly think of myself as a lost artist, like I'm constantly trying to figure out what to do, and I kind of like that position of that figure there, like going nowhere, or I don't know, just going out sometimes. Because I can relate to it.
Yeah, of course.
I donated my shoes to your exhibition.
That's a very good. Well, but you're going to get them back. I mean, but just to clarify.
I want the artwork because I think it will help me raise the value of the other items I have in my collection.
Okay.
That's very capitalistic, very pragmatic reason. Yes. Any others?
I like the artwork, and I might put it in my room because there is nothing but 2 postcards placed on the wall.
It's going to be an improvement.
Consider it.
I think the
should get the artwork.
Oh.
They're volunteering.
That's a really good.
No, but we have to choose.
Yeah, I have a birthday party to go to and I don't have.
That's an excellent reason. That's another one. Those are really compelling reasons.
My mom is coming here in 2 weeks, and she always supported me, and she always wanted to give me an artwork, and she didn't do it yet, but I want to give it to her to thank her for all her support.
So, ¿qué te parece?
Okay, two more. If there's anybody else.
I think it's important that I take this art with me because it's, we don't have to forget that art is for sharing with others. You know, that how much money I have and
Good. Last one. Who was the last one? Are we done?
What do you think?
Okay, so you guys. So we have to wait for the deliberation of the judges.
¿Qué crees tú? We're gonna do it in Spanish, so it's kind of a code. ¿Qué opinas tú?
¿Qué lo damos a...?
¿A quién?
Ay, no sé.
A la chica que no tiene nada, una habitación oscura y triste.
Bueno, sí, venga, podemos probar.
Bueno, porque la última que hablaba mi esposa, entonces no podemos hacer ahí.
Sí, no, eso sería un poco de...
Eso sería un poco... Porque se lo daría a ella, pero no podemos. Vamos entonces a la chica que va a iluminar su habitación.
Venga, sí.
¿Sí?
Vale.
Yeah?
Okay,
Yeah.
we decided.
Yeah.
Okay, so who is the winner?
That girl. The one who lives in a dark room and it...
Oh, bravo! Bravo! Please come. Thank you so much for participating in this process. And for volunteers, I can only offer you the clown mask for this performance that you can share. You know,
Maybe you can have it for...
one of you can keep the batteries and the other can keep the mask. Yeah.
I'll have it. I'll also hang it as a Pablo Helguera.
It's an award. Anyway, so that gives you an introduction to what the Beautiful Eccentrics Central Casting Show is. And after now, we can walk to the galleries and look at the show, and I will be available for any questions. But I just want to thank you for your time and for coming tonight to hear this presentation. Thank you.